Sure. Good evening, everybody. Seemed like it was a longer evening because we had to wait until later to pick in our third round. But very happy with the two young men that we were able to draft today. Chase Claypool, University of Notre Dame, sharp young man. Got great size. He's got great speed. He's got great competitiveness. We really got up close to him down at the Senior Bowl, and the work he did on the special teams really stood out in the practices. And of course, we knew about his receiving abilities, but when we saw him up close, working the way he did in the special teams parts of practices, it really showed the competitiveness that this young man has to go along with his size, his speed, and his receiving abilities. Alex Highsmith, we had a couple scouts go through there in the fall. The first time I saw him was at the East-West game, the practices, and you could tell that he was above. He was above where we thought he might have been going into that because he kind of stood out in the East-West practices. A long, fast, athletic guy. He continued that to impress us athletically at the Combine. And when you really looked at his history and what he did, as a walk-on that was a special teams standout as a young player to end up putting up the stats that he had this season, we don't think this kid's anywhere near where he might be somewhere down the road. So excited to get these two young men. They're both two, awesome young men that, one has graduated, Chase has graduated. Alex is scheduled to graduate this August, but obviously that's on hold because of the situation. I think he is finishing that up online, but he won't be able to walk. But anyway, Coach.
As Kevin stated, we're excited to have both men adding to what he described in terms of those guys. I thought we were really impressed in Chase's case by his physicality. And it really captured our attention, like Kevin said, regardless of what drill he was in down in Mobile, whether it was a special teams drill or whether it was a wide receiver DB blocking drill. And as I started to study his tape after that exposure, it was consistent on his tape as well. There's a physicality in his play that was really attractive outside the things that was mentioned. And in the case of Alex, really enjoyed getting to know him through the process and having football conversations with him. It's obvious that he's a technician. He studies the rush element of play. He really took a significant step in 2019 in terms of developing his rush repertoire, and I think that it was obviously beneficial to him in terms of his production, and it's reasonable to expect that growth and understanding in analyzing what he does and how it produces plays to continue even as he takes a step to this level of play. So excited about both guys.
Okay, we're going to open it up for questions now. Make sure you mute your line except whenever you're asking the question. The first one, Jerry Dulac with the Post-Gazette. Jerry, go ahead.
Hey, Kev, I'm just curious. Were you focused on taking a wide receiver because there were 10 already picked before you, and yet you still managed to get one at number 49?
No, again, Jerry, we never go into it looking for a position. We have ideas where strengths are. We have ideas where our wants are. And if they match up at a certain point, great. And, in the case of a wide receiver, we were excited that player was available to us in particular, not that position. But Chase Claypool, the player, was available to us for all the reasons we stated. He's big, he's fast, he's strong, he's physical. He can make the contested catch. And again, when a player like that was available, it was easy, but we didn't go in looking for any particular position.
All right, next up, Mark Caboli with The Athletic. Mark, go ahead.
Kevin, some people say about Chase that his 4.42 speed at the Combine wasn't really what he runs, that he's looks a little slower playing speed. Is there any truth to that, and does that even matter?
No, I mean, we know he ran that. At that size, I could say I was a little surprised that he did run that fast. We certainly didn't think he was a 4.6 or anything of that nature. But he ran an exceptional time, and he plays fast for his size. Again, he's probably usually right around 230, 228, 230. And until we actually time them, you never know. And sometimes the bigger guys with the longer strides, they're deceptive. And I've seen it throughout my career. And again, this didn't disappoint us. But when it was verified, then we were like, this could be pretty special. But really, he did what he did. I mean, you just can't fake a time. And, but he does play fast, he does play strong, he does play physical.
Okay, next up, Jeff Hathorn with 93.7 The Fan. Jeff, go ahead.
Mike, how raw is Alex? And do you like guys that you mentioned physicality and competitiveness, but guys who comes from a walk-on, do those guys have a chip on their shoulder and an attitude that you really are drawn to?
I don't necessarily characterize him in a category in that way and, talk about attributes. I'm just looking at Alex and the things that he brings. We were really impressed by his resume, the development of his skills over the course of his time there. I wouldn't necessarily call him raw in terms of the techniques relative to rush. Like I mentioned in my opening statement, it was a fluid and fun process getting to know him because he's a football junkie in that way in terms of how he develops skill relative to his position. Obviously, there's going to be an adjustment as he transitions to the National Football League, not only for him but for all of these guys, but particularly for him, obviously, coming from North Carolina, Charlotte, man. He's going to have to get acclimated to the pace of play and things of that nature and playing on 2 feet all the time, which I'm sure he'll be excited about attacking, and we will be in terms of attacking it with him.
Okay, next up, Chris Adamski from the Tribune Review. Chris, go ahead.
Yes, I guess more so for Mike is it, last year TJ and Bud played a lot of snaps, and in years kind of before that here recently you'd kind of split up, or at least the team would split up snaps for the outside linebackers, get more bodies. Is that part of this? And then maybe more so for Kevin, with Bud Dupree signing his tender, is there any hope or desire or movement to sign him to a long-term contract?
In regards to the play, man, Alex gives us quality depth at a position where you need quality rushmen. We now have 3 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks in the AFC North, man. We got to employ people to hunt those guys, and hopefully he'll aid us in that regard.
Okay, next up is Brooke Pryor from ESPN.com. Brooke, go ahead.
Hey, guys, along those lines, I'm curious if having TJ and Bud allow you to draft a more developmental guy like Alex with that position, and just following up on what Chris asked about Bud Dupree and if there's any movement to sign him to a long-term deal now that he signed his franchise tender.
Yeah, Brooke, I'll take that. I mean, we've always said, and it will always be our intention to try to get Bud signed to a long-term deal so he can finish his career. We have a very dynamic duo with Bud and TJ, and would like to see that end together. And what was the second part?
If having those guys allows you to take a more developmental player, someone from a smaller school, to kind of learn behind Bud and TJ. That's something that Alex mentioned that you guys had talked to him about for this year.
Yeah, I don't think, he's not going to get a red shirt year. I can't speak for the coaches, but I know Coach Tomlin's expectation will be this young man will contribute, when he's ready. Again, physically, he's 6'3", he's 244 pounds. He can run. Can he get stronger? Sure, they all can. But again, it's just learning at this level, but I don't think anybody's going into this as a red shirt situation. We're going to expect him to come in and be able to contribute. Again, like we mentioned, first and foremost on the special teams, he'll give us another size guy that can run. And like Chase, both of those guys should be able to help immediately on the special teams as they grow as a receiver and a linebacker.
Okay, last question. Mike Pursuta, WDVE. Triv, go ahead.
Mike, is there something specific that you see in guys that leads you to suspect they can make that transition? The Steelers have a long history of it. What specifically do you look for when you're trying to project that?
Are you talking about outside linebacker?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Highsmith. Yeah, defensive end to outside linebacker.
You know, so much of it is predicated on rush and their ability to rush. So you see those things, obviously, when watching their defensive end tape. The rest of the things you can glean just in terms of evaluating their pedigree from at least an aptitude standpoint in some of the drills that are conducted in situations like in Indy. And we were completely comfortable with his level of pedigree in terms of his ability to move and move in space, and the rest of it is just teaching and learning.